All right, question 5. This one is kind of crazy. So if we have 25 milliliters of 0.78 molar H3PO4, and we add that to 95 milliliters of 0.38 molar CaOH2, what will be the color of phenolphthalein? So I think it has a hint in that question. It says, we're just finding if it's acidic or basic. So my approach, it's going to be, so we're given all of these values, like we can find the H plus, and then we're given all of the other values in the question. But before we were solving to find the neutralization, like the exact equivalence point of them. But in this one, we have to see if all of these values actually give us the equivalence point, or if we have too much base or too much acid, it'll be either acidic or basic. So we just have to find which one it is. So my thought was, since we're given all of these values, I'm just going to kind of ignore one. So I chose the 95 milliliters, the VB. So I'm just going to kind of pretend that we weren't given that, and I'm going to solve for the equivalence point. So I'm going to see how many milliliters of base it would take to neutralize 25 milliliters of 0.78 molar H3PO4. And so once I find out how many milliliters it would take to neutralize this, I'm going to see if it's higher or lower than 95 milliliters. So I know that if it's higher, if the equivalence point requires more than 95 milliliters, that would mean, so if we need more than 95 milliliters to neutralize the acid, that would mean the solution is still acidic because we don't have enough base. And if what I solve for, if the equivalence point requires if it requires less than 95 milliliters, that would mean that we have too much base and the solution would be acidic. Yeah. So if we have too much base, that means we don't have enough acid. So it's kind of two ways to look at it. And I kind of wrote the same thing there that I just said. So let's try it, yeah? So like I said, I'm just going to throw out the 95 milliliters. So I wrote that down. We had, I think it was phosphoric acid, so 3 hydrogens. So I wrote that down, 3 hydrogens. And we had 25 milliliters of it, 0.78 molar. I just filled that in like we have been doing. And then, so again, I threw out the 95 milliliters. I'm just pretending that we weren't given it. And then I include everything else. 0.38 molar of calcium hydroxide. And again, that has 2 OHs. And then I just solve like we've been doing, and I'll compare that to the 95 milliliters that is proposed in the question. So again, just divide by everything that's not the variable to get it alone. These will cancel. Have to do the same thing to both sides of the equation. Oops. I'll just do 3 OH. Okay, and then just multiply it out. So 3 times 25, 75 times 0.78 Okay. Let's see, I think I have to do some parentheses here. So 0.38 times 3. I hope that's right. You can check me maybe. Yeah, so I got that 51.84 milliliters are needed. So that means, so that's our VB. So yeah, so that means that 25 milliliters of the 0.78 molar H3PO4, that would require only 51.84 milliliters of the calcium hydroxide to neutralize it. Yeah, so this means that basically everything I said. And this value isn't really important in the question, like if it's correct or not. Well, yeah, we just have to see if it's higher or lower. That's all that matters. Okay. Yeah, so we have excess base. So that means it's basic. So you could just answer it right now and say that the phenolphthalein is pink. That's our answer. But I'm just going to make extra sure. So I'm going to do the same thing, but for VA, I'm going to throw that VA value out and then compare it to the 25 milliliters. Oh, yes. Yeah. I'm going to see if it's higher or lower. Yeah, hold on.